When authorities found Joyce Carol Vincent's body in her London flat, the television was still on. She'd been dead for over 2 years, and no one had noticed. Today, we explore one of the most chilling cases of urban isolation, how a once vibrant, well-connected woman disappeared silently in plain sight. Who was Joyce Carol Vincent? And how could someone so known become so forgotten? Joyce was born in 1965 in London. A beautiful, charismatic young woman, she worked in the music industry and once dined with icons like Stevie Wonder. She even met Nelson Mandela. Joyce seemed destined for a glamorous life. But as the years passed, something changed. She began to withdraw. Friends lost touch. Calls went unanswered. Her world quietly shrank, and no one seemed to notice. By 2003, Joyce was living in a small bedsit, a kind of subsidized housing for victims of domestic abuse. The rent was paid through benefits. No one saw her regularly. And after a visit to the hospital for a peptic ulcer, she vanished completely. Christmas 2003 came and went. So did 2004. And then 2005. But in her flat, the TV was still playing. Lights on. Heating running. And a pile of unopened presents sat waiting for someone who would never return. It wasn't until January 2006 that her body was discovered. Bailiffs forced entry after years of unpaid bills piled up, though housing rent was still being covered. What they found was surreal. Joyce's skeletal remains were lying on the sofa. No signs of struggle. No immediate evidence of foul play. The television was tuned to BBC One. On mute. The flat smelled faintly of dust and decay. How could this happen in the middle of a major city? Didn't anyone care? Wasn't anyone looking for her? No definitive cause of death was ever determined. The coroner suggested it could have been complications from a peptic ulcer, asthma, or even a sudden collapse. But the truth was lost to time. Even more disturbing was the fact that no one reported her missing. Friends assumed she had moved or started a new life. Family ties had faded. In a city of millions, Joyce Carol Vincent simply disappeared. Why did no one check on her? Could trauma from past abusive relationships have led to such deep isolation? Or was this a failure of society, of neighbors, systems, safety nets? It took a filmmaker, Carol Morley, to bring Joyce's story back to light. Her 2011 documentary, Dreams of a Life, interviewed people who once knew Joyce, all shocked that she had died so alone. One friend said, "If she walked into a room, you'd feel it." Yet by the end, she'd walked out of every room in her life. Was this just a tragic death, or a quiet indictment of a world where being forgotten is easier than we think? The most haunting part? Those Christmas presents. Wrapped. Labeled. Waiting for delivery. No one knows who they were meant for. Or if the recipients even knew Joyce was gone. Her television played for years, broadcasting soundlessly into a room filled with silence. A life once full of promise, reduced to a headline. Joyce Carol Vincent's death was not a murder, but it was a tragedy. One that forced a reckoning with urban loneliness, domestic trauma, and how easily people can slip through the cracks. She was not invisible. She was simply unseen. And her story reminds us to look, really look, at the people around us. Because silence doesn't always mean peace. If this story struck a chord with you, if you found Joyce's life and death as haunting, tragic, and thought-provoking as we did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell for more deep dives into the stories the world tried to forget. And tell us in the comments, how does someone so vibrant vanish in silence? Was Joyce failed by society, or was she simply forgotten by those closest to her? We want to hear what you think.